Hello there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. It's another paid request, this time from Steven. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it. PayPal is usually the best bet, or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And it's for the, I think around 2016 film Imperium, which I'd never heard of before, but it stars Daniel Radcliffe, who got his start most famous for being in Harry Potter. Now, I know I've seen those films. Some of them I didn't mind, but if you were to quiz me one against the other of all the Harry Potter films, I couldn't tell you. Again, I know I've seen them. I might have reviewed them, but I don't remember much about them. I know I didn't hate all of them. Some of them I didn't mind, but anyway. But after that, he has tried to do some interesting roles. There's this one called Horns, directed by Alexander Aja, who did the Hills of Eyes remake. That was at least an intriguing role, different type of film. Guns Akimbo, I thought was an entertaining action film that he got to star in. So at least he's tried to be different. He's tried to be unique. He's tried to stretch out and take chances, and I can appreciate that. And this is another one of those times where he's playing an FBI agent who, at the beginning, is very by the book, very courteous to suspects, will go on and talk to them, have conversations with them, has not had much experience out in the field. So one day he gets approached by Toni Collette, actress I do enjoy, and she gives him the choice of being undercover working for her, where this dirty bomb, or at least the materials to make a dirty bomb, in other words a radioactive fluctuated bomb, that might have been stolen by white supremacists. So pretty much he has to go undercover, and he meets different groups of these white supremacists as he tries to find out if they're the ones who took the materials for the bomb, if so, which part. And that is one interesting part, is that you get different sections. You get the people that are more on the streets, and then you have the more people that are in the compound that very much of this religious fervor. You have the shock jock, radio guy, talk radio, but then really he's all talk. He does this for money and fame. He doesn't care about the race war. I just do it for ratings. You have the truly committed that actually will go through with it, which you find out at the end of the movie. So it was interesting to see like these different little factions. I thought Daniel Radcliffe actually did a pretty decent job. I know some people didn't like him. They felt he wasn't believable. I thought he was actually one of the better parts of the film. Toni Collette, she has a good sense of humor when she pops in from time to time. There's a point where he apologizes to her for his behavior, and he's like, don't worry about it. Give yourself another 10 years. Maybe you'll be an asshole like me. So I liked her. But at the end of the day, I thought the film was just okay. It was worth one watch. Not just for the subject material at hand, but because of Daniel Radcliffe's performance. It's just that it just felt kind of typical. It felt kind of rote, pedestrian, kind of your typical tropes of the undercover agent type of films. Kind of those cliches, by the numbers. You know, the guy who's on the straight and narrow path, and then he's getting a little bit more anxiety, close calls. Do people know? Is his cover going to get blown? And it's not as intense, it's not as hard-hitting as you would think it would be. I mean, they're not about undercover stories, but you look at films like American History X, and that definitely hits a lot harder. And even it's not, again, these are not undercover stories, but Mississippi Burning with Gene Hackman, where they are go and deal with these guys who perhaps are part of the Ku Klux Klan, and even it's an action film, but Dead Bane, Don Johnson, I enjoyed a lot more. Like I said, this one, it's not badly made. It's just that as the story goes on, it just feels fairly just familiar. As if it didn't really take a lot of chances. It didn't really have a lot of either hard-hitting moments that really make you unease, or it played it, I would say, a bit too safe at times. Like I said, the interesting part is Radcliffe having to pretend to be this racist person amongst this group, having to use a little bit of his brain, for example, when they kind of check him on stuff, like where are you wearing those type of jeans? He's like, well, my brother gave these to me when I got back from the military. And you ever look at a Fortune 500? You want to boycott the Jewish folks? Or about this tax called the Jewish tax and ketchup, and we're the catastrophe that we're having to deal with all this. And again, him trying to get into that world. When he's talking with this one guy who's an engineer, and you see that he seems like he's having a nice life with his family and his kids, making the tree house, but then his kids are, those kids of this engineer are taught about, we have to do this because we have to build this for when the mud people come. So it shows how the kids are being taught and affected by the adults. That engineer guy, Sam Trammell, I didn't mind his performance. Him and Daniel Radcliffe bond because they both like classical music and things of that nature. But, for example, for this kind of story where he has to be undercover and he has to keep this undercover part of himself consistent, there's not a lot of times that, for example, he's got to deal with someone who happens to be black. And then there's stuff that kind of pops up and then it's never explained. Like as if there were scenes cut out. Whether they filmed it and they cut it out, or there was cut out on the script but they didn't fine tune it. Like there's this bit where he's got to be undercover in this rally, where these skinheads, they have a rally. And there's people, of course, protesting. So there's a guy in the crowd who happens to be black, which is one of the few you see in this movie that has at least any kind of part in it. And he's like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing? So he knows Daniel Radcliffe. So Radcliffe pushes him and says, get out of here, N-word. Now, you never see that guy again. That's never brought up again. I don't think we ever saw that guy before. If we did, I'm sorry, I just don't remember. And I'm like, well, that seemed like it pops out of nowhere and then nothing ever comes of it. There's another bit where one of the first folks he meets, there's a point where that guy sees like a white woman and a black guy together, and he's being pissed off and angry, and Radcliffe doesn't know what to do, but tries to stop him, and then throws something in the window so the cops are coming, and it makes up a story of, the cops are, you want to be arrested, huh? You want us to lose one of our soldiers? Now, granted, sometimes when he does certain stuff, you're kind of wondering, these guys, they should be a bit smarter, and they could have figured out that he is a real undercover guy. But, I mean, it's a movie, so they don't. And also, like, some of these characters that we bring up, and then they just disappear because he's doing these different factions. And you think they're going to be more important later, and then they don't. So, again, some of the first people he meets, where then they talk in a cafe, in a restaurant, and Radcliffe gets brought to some of these parties. And there's this younger kid who maybe he doesn't 100% want to be in this, but he's still part of it. Radcliffe tossed him for a little bit. Now you think, okay, this will be something consistently throughout the film, where Radcliffe kind of throughout the film says a few words, does a few things, few actions, where this younger kid sees that, okay, the people he's following, not sure if I could trust him, but this guy seems pretty on the up and up, and seems like he's the right guy, he's the guy I should be following, he's the guy I should be listening to. But then that gets dropped. And then, spoiler alert, when everything's said and done, then you see that kid again, kind of rehabilitating away, and then like going up and thanking Radcliffe. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen you for like 40 minutes or so of the movie. I mean, so that kind of falls flat. Because he's with those people, and then he gets to this group of people, different set of people, who are again in this compound in the middle of the woods, who have these weapons, and pretty much it's red herrings. Because again, he's trying to figure out who took this. So it's these guys, but they're the red herrings. It's these guys, but they're the red herrings. They got these blueprints, but again, there's still a bit more talk. Maybe it's this talk show radio guy, but he's the red herring. And again, the spoilers, starting out spoilers. He's a red herring because at first, oh wait, this guy has a Geiger counter reading. But then you find out, well, he has prostate cancer, so he's been having stuff done to him to counteract that, and that's why a Geiger counter went off. And that's what I mean, like, because these groups earlier, like, disappear, then they don't feel as strong of a characters that you maybe have them referenced via dialogue, but that's it. And then it's like, okay, well, it just kind of threw me off. You know, characters you're introduced early on, you think they're going to make a bigger impact, and they don't. Whether one way or another. And like I said, there's never any scenes I thought was intense or that I thought, oh my god. They try a couple times, oh, well, have they found out? I'm like, no, it just, I never felt like it was this close to being found out. I'm like, they should have found out, because at times Radcliffe does stick out like a sore thumb or stub toe, but it is what it is. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, there's not a whole lot that Radcliffe gets in terms of, you know, he doesn't have a family, he doesn't have a wife, girlfriend, kids, where he's got to kind of split between the home life and what's going on. There's not much of it's affecting his mind, and there's not a lot of inner demons, inner anger, inner rage. Like you see, idea was about the subject, but 8mm with Nicolas Cage, where it's this very dark subject matter that he's having to deal with, that he's trying to separate from his life at home, and the devil don't change, the devil changes you. That never really comes into play at all. So it's much more about this investigation that just goes around in circles until pretty much the very end. Then you come to find out, in spoilers, that it's not the people in the woods with the guns. It wasn't the talk show guy. He's pretty much Superior's going, that's it, you're done. Radcliffe's going to move out of town, get out of his cover, see what he does next. Meets with the engineer guy with the white picket fence and the kids, who they both like classical music. And lo and behold, the guy starts to trust Radcliffe and admits to his plans, and lo and behold, he's the guy. He's the guy, and him and his group of people stole the material for the dirty bomb. And like the ending, you'd think to be a bit more suspenseful or intense. It's not. It's pretty much, he has to get this explosive thing. Of course, it's fake. He tells them, what are you doing? Don't try that out. I saw it on a YouTube video. I don't care. We're done then. I'm not trying this out. They believe him. Of course, he says that because if they try it, they realize that it's not explosive because he's not really going to have explosive stuff there just in case. They're putting on suits. The one guy realizes something's off. Tackles Daniel Radcliffe a bit. Cops come in, arrest everybody. That's pretty much it. There's not really any action. The closest to action is during the rally, the earlier. People get through and they're smash up the car, and Daniel Radcliffe drives a couple people kind of out of there. And people are smashing up their car. You know, that's the action in the film. So it's not that kind of movie. Like I said, the villains, like Sam Trammell did fine. But I mean, yeah, when you first see him, I guess there's a part of my brain thinking, well, there's going to be something with this guy. Because he seems, you know, he's a racist, of course, but there, you know, the whole, I don't know. It's just one of those movies you think there's going to be some kind of twist to it. It's not going to be the obvious one. So what, you know, then it's like, okay, what's the one that's not the obvious one? Oh, here's this guy. Unless they want to do a double switch and it was the obvious one. It was them all along. So people go, well, why are you saying it's okay? Because it's one of those films I'm watching going, I don't think it's badly made. Again, I think Daniel Radcliffe, Toni Collette, even Sam Trammell did fine. It's definitely a different role for Daniel Radcliffe, but I just don't think he really got enough to sink his teeth out of, and I would blame the script for that. I don't know if this director had done anything before. But I say, it's not as hard-hitting, it's not as intense or impactful, not even close as it could or should have been. So you kind of go, oh, it's kind of by the numbers, and you see it, and isn't there, and then... Yeah, there's a reason why I doubt many people have really heard of this film. If you see the trailer, or if you like Daniel Radcliffe, and you have it on wherever platform it's on, Netflix, Tubi, whatever, it's a rainy night, you see it, maybe more negative, maybe more positive, but like I say, it was just okay. But at the same time, I would never see the film again. But there's not like a hate for it. It's just like, kind of mediocre or maybe above average, kind of in that realm. I know okay is like a big realm for me. It's like, yeah, that kind of reaction. So, thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks once again, Steven. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.